Hello everybody, my name is Sniping Spun, and welcome you all to the next episode of the F-Zero 25th Anniversary Retrospective Series. It's going to be the second game on the Game Boy Advance, F-Zero GP Legend, the first game in the F-Zero series that was based on its anime counterpart. Hope you all enjoy it. F-Zero GP Legend was originally released on the Game Boy Advance in Japan on November 28, 2003, and was released the next year in 2004 in both Europe and North America on September 20th in North America and June 4th in Europe. This was the first F-Zero game in the series to be based off the anime series that was going on at that same time, and it's also the second handheld F-Zero game in the series. It also, just like Maximum Velocity did on the Game Boy Advance, uses a Mode 7 effect graphical style to it to give a pseudo 3D style look to a game on a system that's not really fully capable of doing 3D style graphics, similar to what, the original F-Zero was able to do on the Super Nintendo. There are 34 playable characters in this game, ranging from the standard ones such as Captain Falcon and Samurai Goro to a lot of the characters they were introducing in the anime at the time, 9 of which of those 34 characters are actually playable in the story mode. The story mode essentially took basically maps and racetracks from the game and introduced story elements to it in order to essentially make a story-esque type game that goes along with the events, I believe, that really kind of happened in the anime. There is also, like every single past F-Zero game before it, a Grand Prix mode where you play through different cups, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, in order to play through the racetracks and beat your opponents and so on and so forth. There is the return of the time attack mode and training mode to master your times, practice your times, compete with friends and family, so you can get the best times, master your time on a track, so when you go into Grand Prix mode, you do better at it, so on and so forth. There is a zero test mode, which is basically a version of a challenge mode, which up to this point really hasn't been seen in any F-Zero game, so if you're not just wanting to race the tracks for the Grand Prix, do the story mode, or time attack for time, you can do a few different little challenges alongside as an extra mode. Just like F-Zero Maximum Velocity, there is multiplayer by link cable, only multiple Game Boy Advances, multiple cartridges of F-Zero GP Legend, and being able to play in multiplayer. So basically the main inclusion since F-Zero X of including a multiplayer mode in the game is still there for players to do. And F-Zero GP Legend was one of the few Game Boy Advance games that actually used e-reader support in order to unlock tracks, machines, etc., different challenges, and so on and so forth. Various different parts of the game were unlockable by using the e-reader to slide the cards that you bought back then. Overall, F-Zero GP Legend did receive fairly general and favorable reviews overall between different publications and different companies reviewing the game. It was generally well received by gamers for being one of the Game Boy Advance F-Zero games. And that's really about it. And then when it comes to the number of sales that F-Zero GP Legends received, looking at general sales data online, it was basically around 79,000 copies worldwide, which was lower than pretty much F-Zero, especially the original F-Zero, F-Zero Maximum Velocity, F-Zero GX, F-Zero X, and so on and so forth. So it didn't sell that well, but it did sell enough, I think, to make some profit, but it definitely, up until that point, was probably one of the least sold F-Zero games at the time, and it is, when you look through these sales of the series as it went down, you do see a downward trend after the original game. Some of them did still sell well, but nothing sold quite close to what the original F-Zero game did on the Super Famicom Super Nintendo. Now I'm going to give my general thoughts on GP Legend as a general idea of it. Now, here's my first take on the idea. I've never watched the anime series, which, judged by the fact that I love the video game series, is kind of surprising, but I guess at the time I wasn't really paying attention to it or whatever. I don't really know, and I never really got around to watching it. Will I change that one day? Sure, but I never really watched the series. I've seen scenes from it online, especially the thing that keeps getting used, the Falcon Punch, the Black Shadow, in the Japanese version and whatnot. But I do intend to watch that, so I don't really know the story from the anime series going into this. But it is an F-Zero game, and I love playing, Grand Prix mode and doing all the stuff I normally play in an F-Zero game. And now, just like I said about Maximum Velocity, I didn't play it when it first came out. I played it years later. But unlike Maximum Velocity, I do think I put a lot more time into GP Legend because I actually really quite liked GP Legend a lot more. I mean, I think the exclusion of the Captain Falcon and Pico and whatnot and Maximum Velocity kind of took a little bit away from that game for me. And then when it introduced the older characters back and the anime characters and it was more like the older F-Zero games with like the Mutant City and the Big Blue and whatnot, I think there was something more to GP Legend that I liked, and I think that's the reason why I think I played that game more than I played something like a Maximum Velocity, and why I think I like Maximum Velocity, but I don't like it as much as GP Legend. I like GP Legend a little bit more. I mean, the game wasn't really perfect, but it reminded me of the classic F-Zero original game on Super Famicom, Super Nintendo, and like I said before in that episode, it was pretty nostalgic for me, that game, because that was one of the first games I ever got into when I got into gaming. So, overall, I think GP Legend is pretty cool. It's an interesting game. I would recommend it if you're an F-Zero fan. If you haven't played the game yet, play it. It's fun, especially if you love the original F-Zero. There's all the extra modes like Time Attack Zero, Test Grand Prix, Story Mode, blah, blah, blah. It'll keep you busy for quite some time. And even if you never watched the anime, go and do it. It's a flippin' F-Zero game. And there you go. And then as for the anime itself, probably you should watch that too, because if you like F-Zero, you're probably going to like that, and I'm eventually going to look at that. That's about it. Put in the comment section what you guys think. What do you guys think of F-Zero GP Legend? That's this episode of the F-Zero 25th Anniversary Retrospective Series. Stay tuned for the next episode when we go to the Japanese exclusive Game Boy Advance game, F-Zero Climax. See you guys in the next episode. My name is Sniper Spun. Peace. Please subscribe if you want to. Have a lovely day.